Welcome back to Footballer XP, the football channel that is more underrated than Volvo. So you want to learn how to cross the ball, huh? Yeah, then stay tuned because in this video we will show you 3 crossing techniques that every forward player loves to receive. The classic crossing technique. This is the most basic type of cross that you can find being delivered from the wing. With this technique, the ball is curved inwards towards the target man standing in the box. The purpose of this technique is to curve the ball over or around the defenders to get the ball to the target man with a low risk of the ball being intercepted by defenders. The great aspect of this technique is that it can be used to reach forwards of all heights, as long as you adjust the height accordingly. If your target man stands 6 feet tall, then you obviously want to play the ball as high as possible over the heads of the defenders. But if your target man just doesn't have the height, then you can aim to curve the ball around the defenders at a lower height. So how do you kick the ball to curve it inwards with height? Firstly, you have to remember that the technique is just the same as a curved free kick, except this time you're crossing the ball sideways as you run forwards. So you have to remember that the ball will drift. If you aim for the penalty spot, the ball will not land at the penalty spot. It will most likely drift and land a few meters behind your intended target, or even further if it's a windy day. The trick is to aim slightly ahead of the target that you actually want to hit. This way, the ball will drift backwards towards the area you were initially aiming for. Slide your foot across the edge of the ball with the inside of your foot to generate spin. If you're running onto the ball, remember that you are already carrying a lot of momentum with your movement, so try not to kick the ball too hard, or else the additional force will send the ball flying to Mars, or Jupiter, or Pluto, or the moon. Try to rotate your body about 45 degrees towards the direction you're crossing to, and slightly lean over the ball to avoid it going too high and far because of the force applied to the ball from the momentum of your run. If you're crossing the ball from a stationary position, then you don't need to worry about leaning over the ball because there is no additional force. As you cross the ball, swing your foot in a circular motion and open up your foot to connect with the inside sole. For this crossing technique, we're rating the risk level a 3 out of 5 because the ball will almost always get past most of the defenders if it's delivered effectively. But the target man has to work to get the ball before the final defender who is marking them. And more often than not, the marker will get to the ball first if they are well positioned. The next cross is your hanging cross, or floater as some people might call it. This type of cross is very effective when the target attacker you're aiming for is taller than or can jump higher than the height of the defenders marking them. With this technique, the ball floats or hangs in the air. The purpose of this technique is to kick the ball with great height. This causes the defenders to have to compete in the air, and like we mentioned before, if you have a towering forward on your team, they will almost always have the advantage. Some would say this is almost a cheat code. Remember Peter Crouch? We would only recommend using this technique when you have a really tall and powerful player in the box, as they can win the physical and aerial battle. It's the battle of the 6-footers. So how do you kick the ball to get it to hang in the air for a longer period of time? You want to aim to generate backspin on the ball. This technique is very similar to a ping, except you're not necessarily aiming to put so much speed on the ball. The main aim is to hit an area above all defenders while also making it easier for your target player to head the ball into the net. Drive your leg through the bottom area of the ball and use the top of the inside of your foot to kick the ball. This will help you generate backspin and will slow the ball down and give the attacker enough time to position themselves accordingly and connect with the right timing. If you're running onto the ball, I prefer to take a little hop before kicking the ball as it reduces the momentum. You will notice that a lot of professional players also take that little hop if they're doing this type of cross. One thing to remember is that for this one, it helps to almost fully rotate your body to face the direction you're crossing towards. And for this technique, we're rating the risk level a 2 out of 5 because the ball moves slower than it does with most crosses, which also gives defenders some time to reposition themselves. However, the threat still remains. If the defenders simply do not have the height to match the attacker, they will never reach the ball first. Lastly, we take a look at the low-driven cross. Now, this is the most deadly type of cross. The cross that every defender dreads because it's not only hard to react to, but it also has the speed and power to force errors. The aim of this cross is to belt the ball into the danger zone with as much power and speed as possible. But the challenge that many people face when doing this is being able to keep the ball low when kicking it with so much power. So the first tip you have to remember is to lean over the ball as you kick it. Secondly, it helps to rotate your body quickly as you kick the ball. And finally, you should make sure you connect with the upper half of the ball, but not too high, or else you won't get enough power onto your kick. You can use the top of your foot to kick the ball. Some people prefer to use the inside of their feet, but it doesn't really matter as long as you hit the upper half of the ball with power. For this technique, guys, we're rating the risk level a solid 4 out of 5. It's often difficult for the defenders to react quick enough or sort their feet out in time, which often leads to errors such as own goals. As the defenders are probably running towards the goal, they won't have time to turn around and clear the ball upfield. So their best bet will usually be to kick the ball out for a corner. Finally, there is also the risk of deflections. With the ball traveling so quick, there's a high possibility that it will take a few direction-changing deflections on its journey. So there you have it, guys. 3 crosses that forwards love and defenders hate. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and leave a comment letting us know what your favorite crossing method is. We'll see you next time on Footballer XP, the football channel that is even more underrated than Volvo.